Everybody, welcome to the Electric Supercar channel. Today we are working on Project HEMI. That's right, H-E-M, capital E. Here we have the Jeep. This is a Jeep Grand Cherokee, a 2006. The plan for this one is to do a Tesla swap, and we're still gonna have it be four-wheel drive. So both power to front and rear axles. So today's task is we're gonna take everything out. We're gonna tear down as much as we can. So let's get to it. We have a new partner. It is ApexCharger. They're the preferred EV charger of the Electric Supercar channel. Now, I have reviewed a lot of chargers, and let me show you why I prefer this one. All right, so one of the things that really made me like this one is it has the longest cable that I'm aware of. I probably reviewed dozens of these, and this one is 30 feet. That's right, 30. Do you know that you'll likely change your car twice before you'll change your EV charger once? They wanted to remove the anxiety over which EV charger to pick. So this provides up to 9 times faster charging, boasting 48 amps of charge. With the charger comes 24/7, 365 contact support. So he says response times are usually less than an hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a try. You got Facebook Messenger or email. I'm just gonna try email here. All right, so it is 2:58 my time. All right, it's sent. We'll see when they get back to me. So 3:12, this is about, what, 15 minutes later. So I just did a random question where I said, hey, can you help me find the app? They responded. I'll show it on the screen here. So yeah, within 15 minutes, 24/7. If you needed additional reasons to purchase, they also have a 5-year warranty. They are ETL and Energy Star certified. If you are in need of an EV charger, I will leave a link in the video description below. For the time being, we've got the Nissan moved off the lift and the Jeep moved on. So we're gonna go ahead and take off the exhaust and begin removing all the internal combustion engine things like the gas tank and the transmission and motor. All right, I got several comments on the video about my torque wrench. So the screen no longer displays. It's like this part of the display is not working and it's kind of all jacked up a little bit. So I've converted this one to a ratcheting breaker bar. But yeah, I got lots of comments that said, yeah, you shouldn't do that. And it's like, yeah, I know. But this is kind of my old torque wrench. All right, here we are under the car. We're gonna start here with the exhaust, but I just thought I'd show you. Got some big time leakage here back by the differential. Also, I'm not exactly sure what's leaking here, but something else. I guess it's a Jeep. That's what it's supposed to do, right? All right, so the exhaust goes up and over the rear axle, and I can't quite get it out. So I think I'm gonna try first just this rear sway bar. That seems to be prohibiting some of the movements. We'll start with that, but it might mean that I have to take out the axle before I take out the exhaust. And we'll get this rear sway bar out and see if we can continue. We'll just leave it here. All right, I can't get this back section out. I even tried lifting up the car so you get a little more room between the axle and still can't do it. I really should probably just get out the Sawzall and just chop it up. I don't know if this is worth anything, but I don't know. In my head, it's always like, hey, just save everything you can. Oh, I've been struggling just a little bit with getting the headers off. So it had 4 bolts holding on, 2 on each side, and 2 bolts on each side came off relatively easy, and 2 bolts on both sides did not. And the challenge was, we didn't break off any heads, nothing was rounded. On the top side, whatever, like they had a welt, like a nut that was welded on, somehow it had just spun off from that. So I had to cut a nut off. So anyways, we got them both off now. There's a couple oxygen sensors. I think there's one more right here, but I just can't get a wrench on it. So I'm actually gonna try and bring this down. It looks like maybe one more over here. So I'm gonna bring it down to just get better access, get those last sensors off, and then this exhaust will be off. So we're good now. It's off. It's actually being held up by the wires right here on one of the sensors. So I'm gonna take that one off. We got one more. All right, so for the front part of the exhaust, we've got an exhaust hanger right here, and basically everything needs to shift forward. However, the engine and everything is forward. So we really can't move this forward. So that one's not gonna come off. The rear exhaust, it goes here and then it goes up and over the subframe and axle and then out that way. But you can't just pull it out that way because it's kind of got this loop up and over here. Both the sections of the exhaust, not very easy to work on. So I think 188,000 miles original exhaust. We're definitely gonna cut this up. We'll see if we can salvage the front one, but gotta get this off. One of the things I gotta work on is I just have a habit of trying to undo every fastener. So I struggled with this one for a while, just trying to get it out and thinking maybe I should take out the rear axle and stuff, but I should just chop it up. So I gotta get a little faster at this. So let's see how the rest of this goes. I got the back part off, again, maybe half hour. The front part, probably another half hour. The challenge was the back part could not be removed from the car, so I had to like chop it up. The front part had 2 bolts that were kind of stuck, and again, I spent probably another 2 hours. So 3 or 4 hours total, so not off to a good start. All right, we are starting with a blank table. We're gonna put tools I use here, so at the end, you can see everything you need to take apart most of the engine and get things out. I'll also have bags and fasteners and things. All right, so under here, we've got, this is the gas tank, and we need to get that one out as well. All this is kind of like a shroud, got kind of some straps and things. So we'll slowly take things off and see if we can drain the fuel. All right, so lucky for me, they've labeled these. So this is like the fuel vapor. So this means the other one's gonna be actual fuel. So I just got, I don't know how much fuel is gonna come out, but I got a little bucket. So we'll disconnect the vapor one first and then the other one that has fuel. There's these 2 lines up here. I've kind of followed things back, and in the back, there is, I believe, this wiring harness here needs to be unclipped. And then this is the filler neck that needs to be taken off. And then there's another one, actually 2. So there's this one, and then there's one more that kind of goes into a Y. But I think those are all the ones that need to be taken out. And then we'll kind of get this lowered down a little bit. I got the fuel lines off here. I've got the fuel lines from the filler neck off the back. I've got the wiring and stuff, I believe, is disconnected. So we're gonna go ahead and start undoing the bolts for the straps. I've got things supported here and there. So kind of lower things slowly and see how we're doing. So I believe we're free, so we'll start lowering things a little bit. Just make sure there's no other cords or anything binding. All right, so this strap's starting to hit in here, so we're gonna have to start scooting it over. All right, we'll take a quick peek up top, make sure we're not still connected to anything. So at least nothing up front. We'll go check the back. All right, so it is off. The jacks are down and everything, but we are still like 6 feet off the ground. So I'm gonna go ahead and lower the lift, slide it off these jacks so it's on the ground. Fuel tank's out. I tell you, these clips, I don't know how the best way to do it. I keep breaking the retaining clips. So the outside stays. When I try and pop this one off, it just breaks. But yeah. Got the fuel tank out, so keep going. All right, I've got a power supply here. I'm gonna just try and supply 12 volts to the pump there and see if I can pump out most of the fuel. Yeah, it's working. Probably can't see, but we do have fuel going in. So anyway, here's the fuel sending unit. I think this is part of the evap system. I'm gonna take that out. One more plug. Oh, there we go. I have taken off a lot of the, I'll call it the easy stuff. So the exhaust is kind of off. It's still in place because we need to take off this center brace here to get the other part off, but the exhaust is off. So now it's kind of down to, you know, getting off the drive shafts, transfer case, transmission, and motor. So I think I'm just gonna work back to front. There might be a better way to do this, but I've watched a couple videos and haven't really seen anything too great. I'll start probably here at the back, take off this back drive shaft, then take off the transfer case, then the transmission, and then finally the motor. Okay, I've made a few purchases. This is an impact wrench. So I've always been using an impact driver, which is kind of for smaller things. This is a nice big beefy one, so we'll see if that one helps a lot. Along with that, Got some impact sockets. Last but not least, I got fuel line removal tool because I didn't have one. So this is for fuel lines and things like that. So hopefully I should be able to get the fuel lines off. So I'm keeping track of all the tools I use. At the end, I'll kind of highlight some. I always put links to the tools for my affiliate account. Everything that you purchase helps me just a little bit. All right, I'm gonna start loosening things, so I gotta get some supports. We're also gonna do it up front here to the transmission. Okay, I got 6 of these just smallest little bolts. All right, I believe I've got the transmission mounts disconnected, so the bolts are undone. So I'm gonna take that whole cross member off so I can separate everything. Oh, there we go, finally. Man, that was just on there. Yay! All right, we got the drive shaft off. Next is the transfer case. And there's like a gazillion little bolts all the way around. So we'll see how nimble we can be and get all those bolts off. Oh my gosh, there are so many bolts. The 2 on the top were so challenging to access, but we finally got them off. So I've got 4 more on the bottom. They're pretty easy. So we're gonna start making sure we got this well balanced, well situated, and we'll take off those 4 bolts and get the transfer case off. Okay, that's all the bolts. We got that off. I'm gonna go ahead and lower the lift, get this onto a cart so we can take it off. All right, transfer case is out. So that just leaves transmission and engine. There we go. There we go. All right, as I'm looking at things, I think this front bar, it's removable. I think we're gonna have to get that out to get the engine out. So we'll take that one out as well. The Nissan, man, it had everything like hardwired. So if this is just one big plug for most of the engine, that'll be great. Not sure why they did this, but this is actually riveted. So you cannot take this off. I don't want it connected and I do want this off. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill it off. And when I put it back, I'll just use a fastener. All right, we are about an hour in on this engine side. I probably even took off some things I didn't need to. I'm so used to the Nissan where everything was hardwired. Taking off some vacuum lines, I think next is coolant. So I think I will raise this up and drain the coolant. Gotta take some things off so we can get to some of the drain points. Yeah, looks like we're already leaking something here. All right, I learned from last time. Oh, come on, man. So I've got the radiator cap off, so that should allow things to drain much faster. So I've got this here, I've got a big 5-gallon bucket underneath. Hopefully we do this okay. Starting to go. All right, we're putting the AC back in the Nissan and taking the AC out of the Jeep. So I took off the AC lines that were down here. I believe this is just an oil cooler, but this may be like transmission oil. Anyways, there's another connectors here that I'm not sure if it's power steering or it's kind of reddish fluid. Come on, we're so close. There we go. Oh, gall. Just so messy. So there are a few other connectors. However, I'm not sure if they need to be disconnected or if they're just part of the engine harness. So I'm gonna get on top, make sure we can access the engine lift points. And then I'm going to get under here and take off the engine mount so we can hoist everything and kind of see what still needs to be disconnected. That's the gear shift cable. There we go. Nice. So no fuel came out here, but I did hear some down below. So I may find that I still need to take off a lot of these connectors. I really can't tell because they've got a lot of big groupings of wires that are no longer attached to the vehicle, but some of them go back behind. So there may still be more that we have to disconnect. I think I have to take out all the injectors as well. That's okay. Again, I'll probably have to take off way more than I'm planning on, but that's how it goes. Golly. Oh, there we go. Fuel rail off. There we go. I believe that's the last one. I had a nut fall down right next to the spark plug. All right, I've got everything free, but the problem is I don't have enough room because this is in the way. So I gotta take off the windshield cowling here. All right, so this is actually not removable. So I'm gonna take off AC compressor and the alternator. Go. I believe I've got everything off of this side, everything off the top, everything off the back, everything off this side. There's one connector I found here, and then I'm gonna raise it up one more time, look again underneath. Also the transmission. I feel like the transmission, there's maybe a couple more wires. At that point, we're gonna go ahead and hook on the engine hoist and take off the engine mounts, and we'll start lifting it up, see what's still attached. All right, so that wire bundle that goes down there, there's still one attached, and that's the starter motor. Gotta get that one off, and then there's one more on the transmission. All right, so transmission, we've got like most of these. So I think they're all off. I think there's one, just I'll call it like a cable tie. One cable tie right there. And then this is where the starter motor is. We gotta take the cable off that. And then I think we're good to go. I could have maybe done this before, but now that transfer case is off, we can take this off, which is the only thing left holding the exhaust on. There we go. And you are heavy, buddy. All right, so that's the starter motor right there. I just need to take off that bolt and that bolt. I just can't get those connectors, otherwise I just leave it in place, but they're kind of inaccessible. So I'll take those two bolts off, and then I think we'll be ready to try to move motor and transmission out. Yeah, so it's super loose now. And you're off. I guess it can just stay there. We are going to loosen the motor mounts and bring the car all the way to the ground. I am making an executive decision. The Jeep is already pretty high up, and with it being on the stand, it's gonna be like another 6 inches up. And I just don't know if my engine hoist can lift it up high enough. First, I gotta put the cross brace on to brace the transmission. We'll quickly fasten everything together. Probably not do things too tight, so we can just crawl under and that's what I'm gonna need to. But then I'm gonna drop everything down to the ground and actually roll the front tires off. So that way it's gonna be down a little bit. I think it'll give it better access for the engine hoist. I apologize, that was out of focus, but what do you do? So we did get the motor, the transmission, everything out. I will say I think this one was easier than the Nissan. So again, not too bad. The connections were not too bad. The most challenging was I was hoping that we could just take that main motor mount bolt out, kind of lift up, but we couldn't lift up past that point. So we actually had to undo the other 4 bolts. Took a little extra time, but with some squirming on your back and stuff, we were able to get it off. So this is looking pretty good. You guys probably can't tell, but there is just a bunch of the coolant fluid. I just think there's not a good drain point because I swear no matter how much I drain, I just tilt something some way and there's just another gallon that pours out of somewhere. So we still have more to tear down. We've got like the brake booster, we've got interior things we have to take off, but that's gonna be enough for today. I showed the table at the beginning where this is empty. So these are all the tools I used. Obviously you've got kind of standard sockets, some wrenches, pliers, those are all kind of pretty standard things. You'll always need kind of, I'll say short ones, long ones, quarter drive or 3/8. The pick tools, I was gonna say, if you don't have those are really helpful for undoing connectors, screwdrivers / pry bars. We also have some socket extensions, swivels. This one's great, a little pry tool to get off all the little electrical connections. Just stick it under there, pop them up. Scissors, tape. I find these bags are very helpful just to label bolts and things. A couple breaker bars, and then as I mentioned earlier, this one, it's like, man, where have you been all my life? I've loved this. I've only used it just for this one, but man, it makes very short work of very difficult bolts. And below that is the impact socket set that I got. I also got a new light. The previous lights that I've been using finally died, so got some of those. Also got my smaller impact driver. So as you can see, not a lot of tools you need to get the engine out. I do also have an engine hoist, which you kind of need. I do have an Amazon affiliate account, so I will leave a link in the video description below for a lot of these items. So that was a ton of work, but we got like the exhaust off, we got the rear drive shaft, we've got the transfer case, front drive shaft, the transmission motor, the gas tank, everything. So that's a lot of work, crammed it all into one episode. I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. I don't know how this is supposed to come off. I don't know how to get this drive shaft off. Okay. Oh my. Oh yes. Okay. Yeah, this is what you guys don't get to see.